Hey everybody, this is Jason Fabok from Ghost Machine Productions, and you're watching the Bat Fanatic podcast. Check out Ghost Machine, some of our new books that we're doing. We got a big launch coming up in April with Rook, Redcoat, and Geiger, all new books, things that I think comic book fans will really love. So check us out, and thanks for watching.
Listen up, Gotham.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Hiya, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fanatic podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast with Sammy Warm Hands.
With Sammy Warm Hands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warm Hands, and this is the Bat Fanatic Podcast. I am joined by my new co-hosts, Slam Dunk Dave and Grandpa Batman, and we are going to do our second video episode and our second full Comic-Con review. I'd like to shout out our sponsor, longtime friend, the Nando Knight from TNK Comics and Collectibles. You can follow on Instagram for claim sales at the Nando Knight. That's KNIGHT. Or on shortboxed.com/TNK Comics. And again, today we are breaking down the most epic con I've ever seen, Megacon Orlando. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm glad you guys had a great time. I had a big feeling of FOMO watching you guys enjoy Orlando.
No FOMO, huh? No.
I'm just recovering. That's all. The pre-con blues is a real thing, guys.
I think it's post.
We'll talk about it. Post-con blues. Yeah, and that's how tired I am.
Yeah.
I don't know from pre and post.
So far, this is 2 for 2. We're making a tradition that Dave is sick on the show.
Again, sorry, guys. I'm drinking some tea here, some ginger turmeric.
But I'm not in a mask, so, I mean, you know.
Things have changed.
That's true. You've at least thawed out. Your tissue is
I'm
regaining circulation. You know,
Right.
Yeah, all good things, I think. But yeah, I flew all the way to the other side of the country, the furthest away I've ever gone for a show. My first East Coast con.
To the peninsula.
Yeah, well, and the crazy thing about that too is it just didn't feel any different. Like February in Orlando feels like the West Coast. It's like 70 degrees. It's sunny. You know, you got trees like California. And
I was about to ask, because
Like-
the last con you went to was a blizzard. I was like, snowing in Orlando?
It was a little different.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a little different. You didn't have a blizzard to worry about.
I mean, I can imagine being there in the summertime would be brutal, but it was just very strange. Like we traveled all this way and felt like we didn't go anywhere, kind of, you know?
Was
Good
that your
for you,
first time
dude.
being in Florida?
Yeah, first time in Florida, 100%.
I had just gone to Florida, I think it was in November. First time taking a vacation in like 3 years. My wife and I went to Fort Lauderdale, which is just north of Miami. You know, it's right on the beach. It was blazing hot. And
In
humid.
November?
Yes. And this is like kind of when all the snowbirds from New York start coming down.
Right.
Everyone I met down there was from New York. Everyone. The
You're
people that
getting all
worked in the
the
hotel.
mobsters in hiding.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, on the beach, I mean, it was hot. The t-shirt that I wore, the cotton t-shirt that I wore, by the time we were walking around, I was like, I'm about to lose this thing because it is so humid. I'm just sweating to death. Orlando, I was watching a football game at the same time that we were down there. The game was being played in Orlando. It was like a monsoon. And that's literally 2.5 hours, 3 hours away. And I mean, it's just raining cats and dogs. And over here on the coast, nice, sunny, hot, just beautiful weather. I was like, wow, that's really crazy.
Yeah, I didn't expect weather to be a threat to us more than the people, because every story I've ever read about Florida is like, Florida man executes with flamethrower his entire family. It's like, whoa, holy shit, man. And so,
Yeah. Florida man buys a bag of chips, executes his entire family. Like, wait, what?
yeah, exactly. And so this was another trip I mentioned before on Dave's show, Everything Batman podcast, that my favorite con of last year was GalaxyCon Austin because I got to go with my wife, and it's totally different than all the solo trips that I go to. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out for taking me along or joining me on this one,
Good for
making
her,
the whole
man.
thing possible. It was also, I'd have people making a point to not just talk to me while she's fucking standing there holding my shit or something like that, which is very nice. You get to learn about a creator's true character, when he's making sure to make time for even the person who's not there for him. But yeah, dude, we had a great time. We did 3 days of con, 3 days of Disney and Universal and all that shit.
Wow.
And so basically it was 2.5 days, and we kind of split the middle day. So we did all my shit and we did all her shit, and it was fucking brutal, and we're both dead. And it was crazy, but worth it. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
You're a lucky
That's
man.
a great thing. Yeah, man. The fact that she could deal with that and you deal with whatever she wanted to do, that's a beautiful thing.
yeah, and I
Because
definitely
my wife would
couldn't.
never go near a con ever. The only time I've ever gotten her to go close to a con was when the guys from The Walking Dead, the guy that plays Daryl Dixon, Norman Reedus, and Negan, what's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Well, right, the comedian.
They came to do a photo shoot. That's the only time that she ever was interested and waited in line for that photo shoot. But other than that, she's like, nope. Sorry.
Yeah, see, with us, it's a little different because she loves going to all the movies, right? We always went to premiere night all the way back to the first Spider-Man, maybe even the first X-Men, because we were together back then.
Oh, nice.
So we've been doing that forever. It used to be midnight premieres. You wait in line, you do the whole thing. And when they started a Comic-Con in Eugene, Oregon, where I'm from, it was like 2015, something like that. And they're small, nothing too remarkable. But we would go, and it happened to land on her birthday each year. And so we went the first 3 years, and then they stopped doing it. But once I started branching out and going to other cities and bigger shows, there was always kind of like, well, would you ever want to come along? It's like, dude, this one's going to be fucking major. What do you think? And yeah, she made it happen. But I actually met a ton, and this is what I want to talk about off the top, is I met a ton of online friends. We're all online friends. And the one I was most looking forward to is a certain guy who gets around to a lot of shows. You might know him. Right there, Everything Batman himself. And so how crazy after all these years.
Yeah, it's kind of like we knew each other already, which we did. It didn't feel like the first time, right? It was kind of weird. Although, like, the shock value of realizing how tall I am always surprises everyone.
I mean, I expected it at this point, but it's weird because, like, you're meeting somebody, but at the same time with you and me, there was like so much familiarity that it almost didn't feel like it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it was like, I was like, all right, cool. All right, buddy. I got to keep on going. I'll see you later.
Yeah. You're like, hey, I'm dropping these books off. I got to get back to work. See you, man.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny about Dave is that he came to Dallas last year for the first time, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay. He knew more people there than I did. Everyone knew. And I'm like, I'm from here. But he knew everybody. Dave has that talent. And it is a talent where he's just super nice and super recognizable, and everybody knows Dave, and it's just like, wow.
I'm just really lucky to be surrounded by good people, and you reciprocate that. That's all it really is. And
it was the Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
The Backstreet Boys t-shirt last year, man, that was a hit. I had no idea.
I was expecting to see that in your Megacon photos.
Well, no, I was like, because I was trying to figure out what shirt to buy for Megacon, and I was like, you know what? Let me just go regular and just chill.
I'd have to blur that one out if we took that picture. I think I'd lose my punk cred if you were wearing that one.
I think after this, I'm gonna start wearing shirts according to the con that I'm going to. If I go to C2E2, I gotta wear some Jordan shirts, right? If I go to Dallas, we'll figure it out. But Megacon, I just wore whatever I felt like wearing. Like my favorite hoodie.
Yeah, there you go.
Always.
See, I had to come wearing my Fabok Three Jokers shirt because had to represent for that. But we were talking about being surrounded by good people, and I have to say, literally, that's what we did. Because I had the 4-day pass, which got us in to the 2-hour early preview or whatever on Thursday, and so I'm in line, and it's my friend Eric who told me a little rumor early on. I think Fabok's going to be at Megacon next. And I'm like, I bought my tickets. Let's fucking go, right? So I see Eric in line right away. We're chatting. I see another good friend who I met on Dave's podcast recently, and we just hit it off, who is like the true MVP of Megacon this year. And that is Mike
goes
Slayer.
in, man.
My God. And we saw each other. Like, I ran into you a bit at the con, but like me and Mike were hitting all the same places over and over again.
Yeah, well, you guys were in Artist Alley the entire time. I'm over here. God knows where I was.
Yeah, and so
I was following balloons.
Yeah, me and Mike were hitting it hard and giving each other little tips and trading books and stuff like that, and really making it happen. And I left that going like, man, I wish I could go to every con with my wife and with Mike, because I got so much shit done just by having the extra help, Yeah,
you feel like you got a team.
Absolutely.
And that sometimes, I mean,
that's the best thing, man, to have a team.
Yeah.
And like the first 3 of us in that line was literally me, Mike, and Eric.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like Mike's friends showed up too. And I was like, how fucking weird that I literally know. And then Dave walked up. I was like, I'm in a state I've never been before. And I've met like 4 people that I know online in the first like 30 minutes or something.
And you got a crew.
Yeah.
That's the thing, was like when that happens, it's like
we roll deep.
I was in the crane line first. And that line, the first like 9 people I knew, and I'm like, all right, let me just stand back. You're like, oh, Dave, just sit over here. I was like, nah, I was sit over here. And then I was like, I gotta go see Sammy. And the moment I was done with that, I saw you, and then we all crossed paths. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, this is what the con experience is about. When you know enough people where you meet one person, you see everyone else, and everyone's kind of like attacking things, especially on a Thursday, the first day.
Yeah.
The first day is key to the entire con of getting the most things possible done.
And luckily, we're all recognizable, because it would be so hard to find anyone in all those fucking things. But I got my fucking, the bald guy with the color hair. You're the tallest motherfucker. Mike's almost the tallest motherfucker.
Yeah, Mike's tall, man.
And he had that towel over his shoulder too, so you could always
he puts the work in.
The white towel. Yeah, man. Me too.
He brought his own towel.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, shout out to Mike, man. Mike put so much work in. I hit him up for a couple of signatures on Saturday.
Yeah,
he took care of me, and I was just like, yo, how? Like, I'm questioning how he does it, because like I'm capable of a lot, but Mike, man, Mike has the end, man. And you know what? I always say it, guys. Find your crew. Find your crew, and you're capable of so much more at a con.
Yeah, and check out Stash Wars, his YouTube podcast. It's amazing, really well edited, and like really, really cool shit. Another guy, speaking of YouTube, that we got to meet in person finally was Chris Michael, Batman statue collector.
Nice.
Had you met him before, Dave? You know him?
Oh, man, I got so many pictures with Chris. Chris is trying to buy some of my prelims.
Oh, the Sean Murphy?
Yeah. I love Chris, man. Every time a con comes up, Chris and I contact each other to see if we're going to meet up.
Nice.
Again, such a great dude, man. Just great energy. He's also a fan of the arts, so he buys some pieces sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, and we have very similar taste in art. Like, he was always a statue guy, or he had this like wall of graded Three Jokers books and stuff. But like, in the last year, he's gone in on original art, and everything he gets is like, dude, that's my favorite guy, man.
Yeah, I'm responsible for some of the pieces he bought because I'm like, oh wait, you like Two-Face? Let's go over here. And he bought like a Jorge Menez, Javi Fernandez piece at Dallas last year, and I was like, oops, sorry.
Wait, didn't you also introduce him to Bulletproof Comics and some of that original
And
Gabriel
he
Dell'Otto?
bought he bought a Dell'Otto piece there too.
Because he goes to, I see him at a lot of the Dallas conventions.
Yeah, he's always
too.
at Dallas. He's really
Always
close
at
to Dallas. Yeah, he's again, great dude, great energy, amazing YouTube following, and great dude, man. And for those of you, give him a follow. He's a Batman statue collector. Again, he has a crew of people always with him. Sometimes he's a son with him, taking pictures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just great energy, and someone that you want on your side.
Yeah. And some other folks that I met that I followed online for a long time. This one was actually for the second or third time, if you count. Met her on multiple days. But Allison Tabitha was there in the cosplay area. We met her as Captain Jack the first day, which is
Ridiculous.
fucking disorienting, honestly, when you talk to her and her voice comes out of that face.
Yeah.
It's really wild to see because she's such, a chameleon with her makeup transformations. But yeah, so that was rad. Had to get the wife in on that one. And then met some folks that Dave was rolling with, which I was never really able to link up as much as I tried. But we were sitting down by the escalators, taking a break, and my wife goes, I think that's the Supergirl you were looking for. And it was Lisa Mancini was walking by, and Lainey was literally running behind her. And so finally got to meet these two again that I've been following for a super long time.
Homegirls.
And great, like the fact that, my wife jokes like, hey, it's your dream come true right there. I'm like, whatever. But like, it's one thing to meet the cosplayer doing like a different character. Like I mentioned, Allison was first doing Captain Jack and that's cool. But we want to go back and get the picture as Wonder Woman because that's what you know her for,
Yeah.
And so to have randomly caught both of them at the same time, both in Supergirl, I was like, yes, mission accomplished,
That was the afternoon, right? Was it Friday?
Yeah, I think it was Friday afternoon.
Yeah, because like that day was nuts. I think Lainey and I were doing a signing over at the Zerdy booth. I think at one point Lainey walked away to use the restroom, and then like Lisa found me, and I was like, "Hey, we need to go sit over there," because we were doing a Whatnot live stream.
Yeah.
So it was like Lisa jumped into the Whatnot, and she had no idea she was in it. And she's like, yeah, people confuse me as Lainey sometimes. So when I go to cons, people are like, oh my God, you Lainey? I'm like, no, I'm Lisa. And they both saw each other for the first time that day.
Oh, they didn't know each other before?
No, they know each other. But for that day, they planned that for that day. And then they saw each other that day. And I recorded that. I have to post it later eventually. But it was funny because it was like Lainey had no idea that Lisa was sitting in her chair until she came back. And of course, the evil twin.
Yeah.
And Lisa's like, which one do you like better? Do you like Supergirl or like Dark Supergirl? I'm like, don't put me in this fucking situation.
Yeah, I was lucky to get through the signing, man. That was a hell of a line over there for her and Zerdy.
Yeah, it was insane. It's funny because like you see Zerdy, everyone enjoys his art. His following doesn't reflect the amount of people that like show up for his art. And then you have Lainey there.
I was surprised.
And then Lainey, of course, has the following. And I was her manager / bodyguard / like friend / scooter buddy / chaperone / whatever. Whatever Lainey needed me to be, I was there for it. But it was fun doing that, man. Friday was a good time. And I'm happy you found them because after that, I kept on crossing paths with them. I was like, oh, I'm walking over here to do this. I crossed paths with them. Then I went around the con and I went outside. I came back in. I crossed paths with them. And I'm like, what the hell, guys? I'm sure you saw them kind of within that time period.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I would be looking at your stories and like, where are these guys at right now? And like we would just never really run into each other.
Yeah.
And then me and Mike are just bumping into each other constantly, even in other parts of the building. Like we were walking out for the day, and I just hear, "Hey, Sammy," and it was like, "Oh, hey, he's in the food court. Let's hang. What's up?"
That's awesome.
But yeah, a couple more cosplayers I ran into. A friend of mine on here. She goes by Orange Solar System on Instagram. Her name's Kayla. Great Harley cosplayer. I was in line to meet Allison again, and I was one away. And I had my wife and I were both just keeping an eye out. So I was like, I know Kayla's going to be there as Squad Harley. Liz Wonder's going to be there as Wonder Woman. Nina's going to be there as Birds of Prey Harley. I got all these that I'm just looking for. And so we're in line, we're one away, and I'm like, oh shit, I think that's her. And so I ran out of line, was like, hey, nice to meet you. I'll be right back. So
that's awesome.
I was definitely trying to squeeze in the photos wherever I could. Also ran into probably one of my earliest friends from the Bat Fanatic IG, which was Gotham Dark Fox Love.
Oh, yeah.
AKA Tabitha. She came up to me right after I saw you in the first day in that line. She recognized me and was in plain clothes. And then she came back the next day as Catwoman here.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you guys follow her, but she's got like every comic book T-shirt ever. Like,
she's dedicated, man. She's one of those that's like, she could jump in the podcast and talk with any one of us. Like, she's in it. I met her on Saturday. She was she was Red Hood. And we made sure we were messaging each other back and forth. I was like, listen, if I don't meet you during this con, I'm never going to see you. Like, that's let's make sure we meet each other. She's amazing follower of both of us, and overall just total nerd up there with all of us. She knows all the Batman stuff, and she really enjoys the cosplay community. Such a sweet human being.
Yeah, she's very supportive.
Yeah.
And then Dave sent me a bunch of his own pictures from the con. So let's go through here. This is an interesting one. And we saw this in person, my wife and I. This is a mashup of Taylor Swift and Dobby. Is that right?
I saw this and I was like, yo, can y'all stop and take a picture real quick? Because, like, this is it.
I would love to know who this is and why.
Well, all jokes aside, like, I know some people who are major Taylor Swift fans.
My wife, one of them.
And Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So it was like, it just worked. And in the craziest way, in whatever the universe we live in, it worked. So I took a picture of it and sent it to numerous people. And they were like, oh my God, how adorable. And I was like, I know. I saw them.
That looks just like the picture of my wife and I from earlier, right there.
You need to calm down.
All right, let's see. What else you got here? This is from the Laney and Zerdy signing.
Oh, yeah. That was during the Whatnot stream, kind of inception.
Yeah, I like that shot.
Again, like, all jokes aside, Zerdy, shout out to Zerdy and his team, man. They do a great job out there. Normally, Zerdy, when he signs at New York Comic Con, he's with Unknown Comics. But at Megacon, he was doing his own booth, still representing Unknown. Did a great job having Laney over. For those who don't know, Laney is his cover model for most of his comics.
Reference model.
Yeah, reference model. So we had a Whatnot stream on Friday. It was supposed to be from 1 to 2. Laney themed, so it was just pretty much selling any comic books that she was referenced, and ended up being 1 to 4. So I just stood in the same spot for 3 hours, and as I sat down, everyone was like, "You've been standing in the same spot for 3 hours. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm perfectly fine, man. I'm used to this. This. I love the con life.
Yeah,
I don't have to walk the aisles. I can stand in a spot too, you know."
Nah, see, that's the hardest thing. The lines were what killed us because the walking is like, all right, I can get over this, but just the standing still was brutal, man. But here's another great shot of you guys together.
So during this, obviously I had the similar shot with Susie back in Dallas.
This is your tradition at this point.
Yeah, I'm trying to make this a regular thing now. It's kind of fun. There was actually the person who took the picture there was a point where I yelled no. I legit held it and I was like, no. But they
the
cut
Crisis
that.
of Infinite Earths.
Yeah, I was trying to, give a full homage to George Perez cover.
Yeah.
And it wasn't captured. I didn't realize it till later on. But you know what? Smiling me is similar enough. So I'm happy with what I got done here.
Man, we missed the opportunity to have your wife do the pose with Dunk there.
No, I wanted him to do it to me.
Yo, you're next, bro. Everyone's next. At this point, I'm gonna go down the road and just be like, "Hey, dude, you know what? Let's take a picture together. But can we do the George Perez?"
You should make a story highlight that's just a compilation of all of the different ones you do.
Yeah, per con.
How about this one? Here's the gang shot.
Yeah, I can't even explain the amount of people who are here. We have Hannah, we have Lisa, we have Maggie Magazine, we have Q, we have Tyreek, whose birthday is today, we have Nate, Deshaun, Maddie, Zoo Girl. There's so many people on this damn thing, man. That was Sunday.
Was this at Captured? Where is this?
No, we're so Lainey and I were signing a bunch of books, or she was signing a bunch of books for Zerdy's Future Whatnot sales.
Okay.
And this whole crew populated, and it was a combination of like people that I know and that she knew, and then they were all like, "Oh my god, let's exchange information." And here's a bunch of influencers just hanging out on a table because of Lainey, not me.
Nice.
And you're the default selfie guy because
he's got the go-go gadget on.
Long arms.
Yeah, go gadget selfie. Wham. And if there was a couple of pictures before that, there's horrible ones I took before that. But that was a good time. And that picture's actually circulating the interwebs right now because I captured so many people there. So that was fun.
Oh, and speaking of Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, man, guys. If you're not following Allison
That's the same Wonder Woman I posted earlier. This is the same person. It's crazy.
There's more pictures of this. Like her and I normally do photo shoots. And like by photo shoots is me posing like a dumbass and her looking amazing as she always does. I didn't send those other pictures though. But
she's so good. She could actually stand in a movie
with anyone.
Yeah, anyone.
Yeah.
It's her creating her own craft. Like she
could be David Bowie, could be Natalie Portman, you know, she does it all.
Heath Ledger.
Oh, did you see her story where it was her and Hayden Christensen while she
with
was
the lightsaber?
Yeah, with the lightsaber while she was Padme.
That was the third time they met because they met at Boston and then they met twice at this con.
I know, and in different costume every time. My wife sent me that newer one today, and I told her the same thing.
He's probably like, "What the f? Who are you?"
I think I think he was just in shock as how much she looked like Natalie Portman in that.
Yeah,
she has a rep now. She's been representing herself, so we're going to see a lot more Comic Cons going forward.
Good. I actually got her to
that.
The way I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We met at Washington Summer Con, and I said, I go by Bat Fanatic. And she's like, oh, right, yeah, okay. I said, but when we met, you know, my friend Dave, and he hadn't met you yet. And so I had you FaceTime him while you were signing. And she's like, oh, I do remember that. Because I think you guys wound up meeting like a month later at a different show or something like that. But
I met at Boston right after that.
Yeah. But that was how I made an impression, was apparently you making an impression. So
good. Use me.
Here's another one that you gave me here.
Yeah, Dave, man. Dave is he works for Comic Sketch Arc. He told me at WickedCon last year on Saturdays he wears Hawaiian shirts. And I was like, if you look right here, we're both standing up straight. He's about 6'3", 6'4". Another tall fellow Dave. And I said, you know what? On Saturdays, if you're around, buddy, I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt too. And we have to make sure we take pictures together. So at this point, he's over at the Frank Miller line holding it down. And we saw each other and he was like, oh, we got to take a picture together. And we took a selfie. And that's like a common thing anytime Dave and I are at the same con. I make sure that on Saturdays I wear a Hawaiian shirt. I kind of have to buy a new one, but everyone loves this Batman Hawaiian shirt because it doesn't seem like a Hawaiian shirt, Batman Hawaiian shirt, but Batman's very subtly in the shirt. So I have to buy a couple of new ones. But yeah, that's Dave, guys.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He helped me out on Friday. Was one of the people that made my Frank Miller story possible, which we'll get to later.
I have a story about him as well, because last year, and I think Dave may remember this, I was carrying around a portfolio that I had my Jay Lee commission in.
Ooh,
and
baby.
Several other very expensive photo ops with Charlie Cox, Vince D'Onofrio, Punisher. I mean, I probably had $1,000 worth of stuff in my portfolio. And I got to talking with a writer. It was the first day having this portfolio, so I really wasn't used to carrying it around like my backpack. Yeah. And I left it there at the table and went to another booth. And it was only until I bought a print and looked to go put it in my portfolio that I realized it was gone. Guess who found my portfolio?
Well, luckily your picture was in it.
Yeah.
That's pretty lucky. Because if that was just a sketchbook, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck proving that.
So yeah, he is a really good guy, and I owe him a lot.
He's really funny dude. I remember when we first met, he was like, "Yo, how tall are you?" And I was like, 6'7". And he's like, cool, 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 cool. He's like, "I'll see you around." And I'm like, "Yeah, a lot of people do." And at WickedCon last year, that's when I was like, "Dude, where the hell you get this Hawaiian shirt from?" He's like, "I wear Hawaiian shirts on Saturdays." And I was like, "Oh, you know what, Dave? As a fellow Dave, let's do the Dave Tall thing." And now we do Hawaiian shirts on Saturdays at most cons. Anyone is more welcome to join us.
I don't know. Unless I was doing a Weird Al cosplay or something, I don't think I could really justify that one. I did see an Ace Ventura cosplay at this show, actually.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
All right, so a couple more. You had some sketches here to show.
Yeah, Chrissy Zillow has been on my list for a really while. Her prices went up, whatever. She has a rep, but whatever. Like, she is so iconic. I walked up to her with a Catwoman blank, a Harley Quinn blank, a Poison Ivy blank, and a Batgirl blank, right? The 4 blanks I tend to want to work on. And she goes, "Ooh, I like this Poison Ivy blank." And I was like, "Yeah, most people do. I feel like I'm going to finish this before everything." And she did this Poison Ivy for me, and it was stunning. I was like, you know what? It's so fitting to her. She even posted it on her page, and
nice.
Very happy with it, man. You know, it's another one down.
Yeah.
Total sweet human being. You go up to her, and she normally has a mask on. She took her mask off to take that picture, and we took a selfie together with her mask off. Also, my Polaroid, because those of you
that was
know,
my move on this. This was a massive claustrophobic, crowded con for me.
Yeah.
So, if anyone's seeing all my unmasked pictures, going, he really went to that fucking. No, I did not go like that. I took pictures like that.
Yeah, she's known to always have a mask on, and I think I broke the ice this time around, especially when you spend $350 for a sketch.
Sure.
But she's known me and Chris Minga, her husband. We're all good friends, and I wasn't sick during the time period, so we got a lot of good pictures with our faces. I'm so happy with that sketch. That's another one for the books.
And it goes very nicely alongside this one.
Ooh, baby. My homeboy, Nathan Zerdy, never fails. I asked him for the Batgirl, and he was just like, his handler was like, "Oh, sure, he'll do that." And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't ask him. And I was like, "Hey, how you doing with the Batgirl?" He's like, "Oh, that's yours?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "Oh, I got to make sure I finish it." And what he did was on Saturday, he took the first 2 hours of the con being open. So, like, I guess 9:30. No, he started signing at 11. So the first hour and a half, right? Because 9:30 is early, 10 o'clock was open. So he took the first hour and a half to actually try to catch up.
Mhm.
He signed no books or anything. And he started this on Saturday. And I was like, "Oh, man, it looks good. I'm so happy with it." And
yeah,
maybe
it's like
he did
almost full figure, nearly full figure, and it's full color. Like, you put in time on this one.
Yeah, Zerdy at the moment he only charged $150. That's not a friend price or anything.
That's great.
Yeah. So I told him, like, "Hey, I got a Poison Ivy from you. I got this Batgirl." I told him how much a Batgirl blank costs. It's very hard to get.
Yeah.
I told him, going forward, I want to get a Harley Quinn and
Catwoman.
a Catwoman. But I said I need to get a Supergirl eventually, for obvious reasons. So he was like, "All right, cool." He's like, "Oh, let me know if I go to C2E2. I hope to see you there." I'm like, "Nah, I have to go to C2E2 and get another sketch." So great job, Nathan Zerdy. For those of you guys who don't follow him, go give Zerdy a follow, man. His art's phenomenal. Such a great guy. Him and his sunglasses.
Yeah, I did point out to my wife, I was like, he's wearing his sunglasses indoors at the signing. And she's like, "You do that all the time." I was like, "Because I forget they're on the prescription."
Yeah, we went out to dinner on Sunday and he put on like regular glasses for the first time. And I stared at him and I was like, "This is the first time I've seen your eyes." I'm like, "Oh my God, they're so majestic." And just messing with him. And he was like, "Oh, really? You haven't seen my eyes yet?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude." Another great dude. We're so blessed to be surrounded by great people at these cons.
And speaking of surrounded by great people, can you explain what's going on in this one?
So for starters, right, I'm at my booth where I work at. I work for Capture Collectibles.
This is your cosplay?
No, so on Sundays, Zerdy's
light
team,
cosplay, very light cosplay.
Yeah, I'm Snorlax, guys. I'm tired of shit. Sunday, I want to sleep. But Zerdy's team tends to wear onesies on Sundays. And
Okay.
this is our second year wearing onesies. I'm saying we, like I'm part of the team. I am, obviously. But Maggie, Zerdy's manager, has a husband who's 6'4", 6'5". So I'm wearing his onesie, and I'm walking around with the onesie, and here's here's Darth Vader from freaking Rogue One hanging out at the Capture Collectibles.
Wait, it is?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so many other things. He's been in so many movies, man. Such a massive dude. We met over at Rhode Island Comic Con in November, and we measured each other. And he was like, "You're 6'8", mate." And I'm like, "No, bro, I'm 6'7". And he's like, "No, you're 6'8". You better check with your doctor." I'm like, "You better check with your doctor, homie." And I saw him again. He's like, "Oh, mate, how's it going?" I'm like, "Oh, crap, whatever." He's like, "What are you wearing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm wearing a Snorlax onesie." And I was like, "Hey, is it cool we get a picture together?" He's like, "Oh, you work for this booth?" I go, "Yeah." And he was like, "Hell yeah, let's do this." And we took a couple of pictures. But man,
That's
this dude's
funny.
massive. Look at his arms, bro. I need to get my weight up. I need to start doing more bicep curls because next time I see him, I got to make sure that I, not wear that onesie and show some biceps because, man, that dude is jacked. He's been in a lot of movies. That's a great dude. He had to leave at 2. He had a flight at 4. He was, "Hey, man, I'll see you again at the next con, mate." And I was like, "Dude, such a cool ass dude." And of course, he's going to recognize me because when else you get to see the top person that just shows up in a Snorlax onesie.
So that reminds me of something, speaking of Star Wars, because we were in line for Don Bluth. He was the only like celebrity person that I met. I got my Land Before Time signed because this was the first
VHS.
Yeah, first movie I ever owned. My parents bought this for me in September '89, which my mom was able to actually ID that because she married my stepdad September '89 and bought this for me on their honeymoon. So it was out for like a week.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah, and so it was sentimental. I wanted to meet him, right? And while we're waiting in line, we're near some of the Star Wars guys. I think his name is Eunice, the guy who plays Chewie in like all of the newer movies, like Force Awakens onward. He was like doing a bit where you guys have seen those viral videos where it's like you're dragging a chair across hardwood and it vibrates and it sounds kind of like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is walking around with his stool in his hands. And like I was telling my wife, it's like, there's no way I could ever do this justice, but we were just dying laughing. Like all the multiple lines around were laughing at this dude because he's like, "Hey, Chewie, you want to go out for some lunch?" And he drag his chair. I'm like, "Oh, you've already had that today? Well, what would you rather have?" And like he just would not stop. And it was the funniest fucking thing. Like we're all standing there all sweaty and our feet hurt and our backs hurt. And like he's just entertaining the fucking line. And it was amazing to have the actual Chewie doing that.
That's awesome.
Just for our amusement because everyone was bored.
Question: how big was the facility that you guys were at? Just so I can.
Dude, it was the biggest convention center I've ever seen. I got fucking tired walking around the thing, man. Like the first day we got let out on the wrong side of the building, and it took forever just to walk back around the building to get back towards the hotel, man.
Yeah, Gramps, to give you a gauge, it was probably the entire Dallas floor plus 50%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. And then people try to tell me like, "Oh my God, this is the size of San Diego." And I was like, "No, it's not. Because San Diego is twice the size of that floor."
That's insane, man.
Yeah. And that's not counting upstairs or anything. Like, because Dallas, there was upstairs, there was a downstairs, a small downstairs. San Diego has twice the size of the floor plus upstairs. And then Dallas has upstairs too for panels and stuff. But like the main floor,
the upstairs is small.
I'm only gauging the main floor, and it's probably the same size as Javits Center. Javits Center is a little bigger, but then Javits Center also has a downstairs and all that stuff. But just gauging it by the main floor, it's about 50% bigger than Dallas. It's insane. Okay. A lot of walking, man. A lot of walking.
Yeah, dude. Incredible. Saturday, I did 28,000 steps. Fucking gnarly.
That's 17,000 dunk steps.
That's true. All right. So Now we're going to get into the real shit.
That wasn't it.
I'm saying we got to see a lot of people have a lot of good times, but oh my God, this was like my biggest con ever in terms of the artwork, the sketches, the signatures. I'm not even going to go into at this point, but the guest list was so huge that if you just took the people who canceled, that would have already been bigger than the last couple cons I went to. So the canceled people that I was going to meet was Mike Mayhew, Gary Frank, Jay Anacleto, Mirka Andolfo, Natalie Sanders, Klaus Janson, and Chuck Dixon. And those are just the ones that I wanted to see. I had also planned to meet Juliette Lewis, Cameron Monaghan, Ariel Diaz, Tyler Kirkham, Frank Cho, who I briefly spoke to, but he was leaving, Scott Hanna, Jeff Loeb, Tom King, Will Jack, and Art Germ. And I did not get signatures from any of these people. You'll see why.
You're busy, man.
The budget was at its limit.
Yeah.
I was mostly bummed. Like, there were examples I could give of artists going above and beyond. And then there are other examples where that did not happen. And
Where
like,
the money at? Payment.
Kind of. But like, I catch Frank Cho. He's standing there bullshitting with, I think it was Ryan Ottley or somebody. He's near another booth. I'm like standing at his table and he's not there. He's standing at the other people's table and I'm waiting and waiting. And it looks like he's leaving. And so I kind of run around the end and I'm like, hey, it's too late to get a couple quick signatures. And he's like, yep, sorry, I'm gone. Okay, great. I'm like, well, those will go back to the hotel. And then Art Germ, he had a crazy line every time I went by. And I had a few books to bring, with all of these. There were so many artists. All the things I had pulled to bring, I put half of them back before I even left. Because there's so many, right? And you got, 10 books for each person or something? You can't do it. And so we finally see a shorter line for Art Germ, run up there. There's like 2 people there. Great. I don't even get up to him. His handlers come up. They're like, hey, are you buying something from the table? And I'm like, oh, no, I just want to get a couple things signed and get a remark on a sketch cover. And they're like, oh, well, unless you buy something off the table, he's not going to do that because right now is retailer only. And I was like, hang on a second. So if I want to actually spend more than any of these, $20 variants you have on the table and get art done, I can't do that. And they're like, yeah, you have to come back at a different time. I was like, all right, I'm running out of money here. So whoever is the next to take my money is going to be the one to get it. And that's what happened. But
his handler is going to, man, do I say it? Yeah.
I mean, okay. I was a little disappointed. Let's be honest.
His handler's going to freaking price him out the game. Because, like, there's this whole thing where he started charging vendors and stuff, like double money.
Really?
For signatures and all this nonsense. Like, and at the con, it came relevant. And listen, if you're watching and listening to me, a lot of artists realize what you're doing. A lot of vendors are realizing what you're doing. You got to get less business to Art Germ because of the chaos you created. And it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to anyone that's just trying to get things signed. You don't have separate times for vendors. You don't have separate times for other people. Listen, people walk up to the table, take care of them.
That's what's crazy to me is that it's not, you go up to some artist and it's like, oh, I'm only sketching in this period of time, but I'll take your signatures any other time, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. You're trying to get through the workload. I get that.
You have vendor times during attendee hours.
Yeah, see, but this is what I don't like is that the rules were set up so that it was between these hours I'll sign for fans and then any hours retailers can come up.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they're paying double.
I know your bread and butter is like retailer exclusive variants and stuff, but it seemed crazy to me that like the fans only have these little windows, an hour or so at a time. And then all the vendors who can catch you before they're open or whatever, like can come up anytime.
But
so that bothered me. And also just like, oh, well, are you going to buy one of these books? Because you'll do it if you do that. Yeah, or did you bring stuff from home? I'm like, well, fuck you. Paying for the signature.
He doesn't sign before the con opens either. It's weird. It's just like, that's when you should do the vendors. Do the vendor stuff early. What you would think. Like, that's what makes sense. And it's like, I don't know. I can say a lot of bad things about the way they're being run. I'm just saying, Art Germ really works with this guy, and he's giving him a lot of leeway. You got to price your way out of the market doing what you're doing, and Good luck.
It's not even that. It's not even the pricing, because he was at the last Dallas con, and yes, his line was always busy, but you're right. I mean, he had, posted certain times, certain this, and I was just like, I've got other things to do than to wait around to meet your time slots.
Yeah, and I like his work, and I have a bunch of his covers, and I was hoping to get something from him, but also given the insane bench of talent at this show,
the
whole thing, it's not even that, because I don't want to say anything to discredit him, because like, look at his Instagram this weekend. He was posting so many amazing sketches, just cranking them out. I couldn't believe how many, but like, I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. Like I just listed off a bunch of people that I brought books specifically for and blanks specifically for, and I budgeted for it. But dude, you're trying to get whoever you can from your wish list here. You have your priorities, but like, dude, we're not all made of money and time, like you're saying. If I got to wait an hour to do that, well, I see this guy's open. I can go and get that right now.
Yeah. And there's a lot more to it. And I don't want to air this guy's dirty laundry out, but at the end of the day, it's like, don't attend the hours. Take care of your attendees, man. Even if they're vendors, take care of everyone. They're going to stand in line, take care of them. Knock it out. Move on.
Yeah.
Another huge loss, I guess, for me, with people I want to get stuff signed for, Francisco Matina.
Mm-hmm.
He was another one to cancel last minute. I think he had like family emergency or something. And I was like, damn it, I had like 12 books. I'm like, God damn it, I have to bring these back to the damn hotel. Back to the Airbnb, but whatever. Yeah, that was someone else. But the Argerm thing really bothered me.
Well, to change subject, I want to give Gramps the floor here, because after your comments on the last episode, I happened by Jay Lee, and nobody was at his table at the moment. And I was like, oh, hey, man. It actually looked like he was eating lunch. And I said, oh, hey, man, my friend was just talking about you. He said that you did this awesome sketch of his dog in the bat suit. And he's like, in the bat suit? Oh, yeah, I remember doing that. And so there it is.
There it is.
I had to follow up and get that picture from you, because, what a unique commission. It's amazing.
He was more than happy to do it. He's a big animal lover. We started trading photos of our dogs and talking about our dogs. And even this last year, we got a second dog, and he was asking, oh, do you want me to draw her in a bat suit too? I may do it at this next year if he's coming back, but
nice.
There's Louis.
Here's a bit of a surprise. Here's a person who was not on the list, or I guess briefly was on the list and was taken down. I don't know if anybody but me knew he was there. Got to meet Clay Mann for the first time.
Oh, he was walking around?
Yeah.
Look at the man boys.
Yep. I know he's a friend of your guys' show, Bat Force Radio. Yep. But yeah, it was my first chance to meet him. He has been working on a Phantasm piece for me for quite some time, and he was going to bring it to the show. And so I hadn't heard from him in a couple days. And so I walked up to Mandy at Comic Sketch Art, and I was like, hey, have you heard from anything from Clay? And she's like, no, why? And I was like, well, he's notoriously hard to get a hold of. And we were supposed to meet up here, and I'm waiting for him or whatever. And like, he just steps out from behind her. He was standing right behind her. And he goes, hey, I'm Clay. And I'm like, oh, well, hey, it's Sam. And I only said it because he's the one who was like, yo, I'm really bad at DMs, but like, just message me directly. Don't bother with CSA. Like, I'll get back to you. Just, it's way easier this way. All right, cool. But yeah, I'm standing there going like, well, he doesn't fucking respond, but he said he was going to be. And then he just, oh, hi.
He's like, yo, you talking shit, bro?
Yeah, it was great. So yeah, I got to see him for a minute. And then to rewind, before the con, they announced, well, and first of all, I mentioned this, that I was going because I heard Jason Fabok was going to be there. And I've been trying to get a piece from him for literally years. Three Jokers was a thing that made me open a box at my local shop to become no longer a trade waiter, right? But an actual monthly reader. So huge soft spot for Jason Fabok. And he never has any opportunities for like pieces by mail or anything like that. I've sent Robin Cross from the Bat Force to Toronto,
to knock on his
to
door.
his table to check. I've sent Dave, I think, to his table in New York to check what he had, and finally I was like, fuck it. I hear the rumor. I'm flying out. We're going to do it. Right. And then they announced the whole Ghost Machine crew is going to be there. I'm talking to Doug at Comic Sketch Art, and he's like, oh, by the way, they're going to do a private Ghost Machine dinner. Watch for the announcement. I'm like, oh my God. So it turned out to be a $600 ticket. And I know a few people who went, but I am trying to get sketches. I'm not trying to spend a bunch of my budget. It included a sketch, but it was like a randomized thing. So yeah, I didn't do it. But Mike, who we talked about earlier, was like, hey, I'm going to this Ghost Machine industry mixer thing Wednesday night. I'm like, what? And so straight off the plane, drop our shit off at the hotel, grab a lift, and here I get to meet Geoff Johns and one-on-one just hang out and talk to him for a while. He's asking us about our trip and where we're from and talking to my wife and shit. And like, it was amazing. He was so nice. And I got to ask him, I was like, dude, I am a huge fan. We both are of the Wonder Woman movies. But I've always had this question that did not make sense to me. In the second one, when she makes her wish, why does Steve Trevor come back in another dude's body? I do not understand. Seems like it could have been so much simpler. And he's like, oh, no, there's an easy answer for that. Because I was like, is this a rewrite? Or did someone, I don't get it. He goes, oh, yeah, no, it's because it's the whole, monkey's paw thing. Like, you never get exactly what you wish for. And so, that was the way the wish was fucked up. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense because I've seen other people complain about it too. Like, well, how's that? Anyway, so that was the intention behind that. But I got to chat with him for a while, and he's like, well, who else are you here to meet? And I was like, well, we came here for Jay, but I don't think he's here tonight. And he goes, oh, well, do you want to meet Brad? And he walked me over and he introduced us one-on-one to Brad Anderson, best colorist in the game.
Man. Such a great guy.
Wow.
So amazing. Yeah, so I got to stand and chat with him for a while. Told him I was hoping to get a piece from Jay, and I would love to have.
Is that Mike in the back?
It might be. It might be.
Okay.
It was actually cold that first night. Everyone was wearing our hoodies and stuff. Yeah. That could be him in the background there. It's hard to tell because he looks short.
Yeah,
but
he has that hat and the hoodie though. It looks like Mike.
But yeah, I'm so glad that I went to that because I didn't get to go to the dinner, but got to actually hang out with those guys. It was catered event, and it was supposed to be only a $35 ticket, but I wasn't sure how long it was going to take to get from the airport to our place and all this. I didn't want to miss it. And so I tried to buy the ticket when we got to town, and it wouldn't let me. So we just went. I'm like, well, see what happens. And I told the door guy, I showed him on my phone. I was like, hey, I can't buy a ticket. I want to come in. And he's like, come right in.
That's awesome.
We didn't even have to pay. We got a free thing. And
don't be spilling out your secrets, man. Then everyone's going to do the same thing going forward.
Yeah,
it worked out, dude.
Show up late. There you go. That's
you were
the
showing
key.
me pictures, and I was like, there's no way. I'm like, good for him, man. That's awesome. Geoff Johns is a really great dude. I had a good chat with him last year at Megacon. And
it was Wednesday night. The show hadn't even started yet. And I was already like, oh, man, this is the best.
This is only the beginning.
So the next day we went in 2 hours early because we had the 4-day pass. Jay's signing was at 4:30. And I was the first one in line, my wife and I, at 2:15. And we stood there that whole fucking time. I think about 2:30, Mike showed up and Eric and everybody. But I finally got my hands on an original Jason Fabok Batman.
So you had your choice of everything he had available at the show. Is that correct?
First of all, there is a new thing that Comic Sketch Art is doing where you can spend a couple $100 and get a VIP card just through them that cuts the line at their artists. So I'm there at 2:15.
I had Disney Fast Pass.
Yeah, it's the Disney Lightning Lane, right? Yeah. For Comic Sketch Art. But he was supposed to be there at 4:30. He didn't show up till 5. And in the meantime, between 4:30 and 5, 2 different dudes show up and they just jam their bodies right in front of us. They don't say shit to us. They just like walk up, drop their stuff on his table, and like kind of push us out of the way. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And everybody in the line behind us is getting mad because like this is until Frank Miller came on Saturday. This was the biggest line I saw.
Yeah.
Maybe Scott Snyder, but I mean, yeah, this is one of the biggest lines I saw all weekend. And yeah, these dudes are just walking up the front, cutting the line. We're like, what the fuck? And I hear the guy go, is he taking commissions? And I was told in advance, no, he's not. But he should be bringing originals. He always does, right? So I just said, no, he's not. I didn't say the second part. He's probably bringing originals. And when Jay shows up, he was 30 minutes late because there was CattleCon in the neighboring hotel, and he went to some redneck farm con by mistake. A true story.
Which was the old building, to be fair. The old building was where the Megacon used to be held.
Okay.
And there's a second building on the west part that we were at now, which is weird because for the last 2 years, everyone's used to going to that old building where CattleCon was being held.
Yeah, it was funny. So he shows up, and I see he's got his portfolio in his hand, and he just hands it to Doug at Comic Sketch Art, puts it to the side, and signs these dudes' books. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They don't see it.
That's all they wanted?
I don't know. But I'm like, they don't see it.
Keep it that way. Sorry, guys.
Nobody say anything. Because I flew across the country for this whole fucking thing to get one Batman from this fucking dude. Right. And so it's my turn. He signs my stuff.
So you turned into third in line.
I turned into third in line.
Okay.
And I looked at my wife dead serious, and I was like, if these motherfuckers get my Batman sketch and there's not another one, I'm going to lose my shit.
Were you dead fucking serious?
I was dead fucking serious. And so
his wife was like, I've been standing here. You better fucking get one.
Yeah, seriously. So it gets done. And I asked him what he brought. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got a few over there. After I sign your stuff, if you just step aside and he'll show you what I got. I'm like, all right, cool. And so, again, I've waited 3 hours, and then I stepped to the side. Doug's like, okay, yeah, just give me like 20 minutes. At this point, I had no filters, so I said, I've been standing here fucking 3 hours. I feel bad now because, like,
he just snapped.
I kind of did, but he was cool. He was very nice to me this weekend. Doug's great, but I was like, "Are you serious?
I flew 3,000 miles.
I just wanted to see what he brought, And I knew too that Eric was behind me, and he's like, "Yo, he just posted these on Instagram. Are you gonna buy that one?" I was like, "Fucking right, I'm gonna buy that one. Like, get back. Like, how many do you have?" He's like, 4. I'm like, yeah, fuck you. Get back. And so
stay back there.
Yeah. And so I wound up getting the only Batman that he brought.
Congratulations, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, he brought 2 Rooks from Ghost Machine and 1 Wolverine that was like a full page. It looked like a splash page, and it was like $3,000 or something like that. But yeah, I way overspent because in the past I had an idea of what his sketches were going for, and they were usually like 9x12s or something. And so for the only one he brought to be 11x17, I was like, oh no, there goes somebody on my wish list for this weekend. So bye Art Germ, bye Frank Cho. Hey, got to do what I got to do,
Congrats, man. That's a huge piece, man. And that's
awesome.
Like to add that to your collection and with that story attached to it, that's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, man. And then, having talked to Brad the night before, he was saying, if you really, really want me to, I will cover that original. He's like, but I would rather you scan it and then I color that. And I'm like, okay, well, I tell you this, my whole wall, I've been copying all the things that aren't on sketch covers and making them onto sketch covers. Said, so would be super cool is if I had the original nice and big and then I had you color a version I copy onto a blank. And he's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So
nice.
We're going to work that out in the future. Really look forward to seeing what he can do to it. He did a couple of Frank Miller sketch covers that he colored this weekend that looked awesome. And then, as I was saying, tag teaming, multitasking, that long line enabled me to step away at one point and get this done
Mr.
while my
Bill.
wife held our place in the line. Bill Morrison over with 4C Comics. You know, I was a massive Simpsons fan as a kid. I got to talk to him a bit about it. And, you know, I was telling him, like, I learned to draw with that Simpsons book. And he's like, oh, yeah, I worked on that book, you know. And so, yeah, it was really cool. I bent the rules of my Batman collection a little bit to get the Bartman, but
It's just one letter.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I think I walked by you when you were there, and I'm like, I'm not going to miss this experience. I'm going to keep on walking. And then I was like, I'm pretty sure he has his wife holding up that spot. And there we go. They verified everything I thought during that happening.
Pretty much. But yeah, he was a super nice guy. And it's one of those where I got to actually watch him work on it in real time, you know, which is always cool. And this show is so busy that a lot of cases that's not possible. Like, he had an interesting style of shading too. He would kind of like do his hatching down a line before he would go and fill in everything around it, which was interesting to watch.
He cranks him out, man. I worked for Captured at Baltimore 2 years ago, and we worked off of his booth, and just watching him is just like, he makes it seem so easy, you know, and it's a beautiful thing to see that.
Well, another that I got here, this was totally unexpected. We were walking around and I saw that Mike DeBalfo was open. He didn't have anybody at his table. He said that his commission list was already full. And I started flipping through the original art portfolio on his table. I'm like, oh man, these are just amazing. And cut over to Marissa Pope, who was at the table right next to him. And she had a couple of pre-done sketches on the table. One was this Catwoman and another was Harley. But I love the kind of 60s style costume, and just that face is just amazing to me.
Was she with Clay McDonald? That kind of looks like the sign behind her.
Yes, she is.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's like another great group of guys. You want to find art. Clay McDonald, really great guys.
Damn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like she does kind of my favorite style of female faces. Like, I just, those slightly exaggerated eyes, you know, and like that Mike Turner kind of thing that I've talked about before. Just so good, so good. And then the only pre-show sketch that I had paid for was from Tony Daniel. I had this City of Bane blank that I've been saving for a long time. And even though I have like an eBay Batman sketch from him, and I have a remark that I got from his website, this is my first proper sketch cover and the first time we've got to meet. Well, Dave, you were there, right? When I first walked up to him, it's like, oh yeah, we were talking about indigestion, heartburn, all this shit.
Yeah, that was awkward. That was a great conversation we had in front of you and your wife.
Yeah. And she's like, oh no, that's the story of our lives, man. Because I get acid reflux and all that stuff too.
Yeah, we were in it again, and it was great. Here we go again. Last time I talked to you, we talked about this stuff, and you know, here we are with the crowd.
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
He's a great dude. Yeah, great artist, great dude. You could talk to him about anything.
So he did my sketch before the con. I dropped off the blank Thursday, and he did it Friday morning. But he intentionally left some like little embellishments that he wanted to do in front of me. And so we met him down there first thing in the morning, and he's like, oh, you want some red eyes? I'll give you some red eyes, you know? And so cool. That was really cool. Got to see him put on the finishing touches, but yeah, it turned out awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mike was super stoked on this too, because, you know, whenever we'd run into each other, it'd be like, oh, what'd you get? What'd you get? You know? And he even posted a picture of this one before I did.
Nice.
How about this next guy? We're going to cover some books from the One Bad Day series. And the final book in the run is maybe my favorite. And that is Tom Taylor and Ivan Reyes. And so I got my very first Ra's al Ghul. That was also my very first Bane. Actually expanding a little bit in terms of my my characters, not just trying to get, like we talked about, like I have so many Harley and Catwoman and whatever.
No, I love this selection when I saw this on your Instagram.
Yeah.
I love the selection, especially on a Batman detective blank, because he always calls Batman the detective.
Exactly.
I thought that was really cool.
I told him that's the reason I chose it too, because I was like, he always calls him the detective. And so I grabbed the cover that literally says the detective on it. I think it was late Friday. I was running low a bit by that point, and I thought I had enough. Had about $300 left. The head sketch from him, which started at $300, but when I walked up there, he also had a remark for $100. And so I just asked him, I said,
using a pen?
That's a fucking Bic pen and a number 2 pencil is what he did. It's insane. And so I asked him, I said, what's the difference on your remark? Is it really small? And he says, yeah, it's pretty small. And he held his hands up, like a baseball. And I'm like, okay, well, I was hoping for something that was more the size of the sketch cover, Yeah. I said, but if it's too small, I don't want all that blank space. And I showed him, I brought this one or whatever. I said, but I could probably spring for the bust or whatever it was. And he grabs his commission list, the paper list and he goes, well, we could just add you to my list and I can get to it when I can. And hang on. And he puts the list down, grabs my cover and just starts drawing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right there.
He's like, I got you, bro.
Yeah, basically. And I look at my wife like, he's okay. He's doing it. I don't know which one I'm getting, but I'm getting one. And then the handler walked up and I could see already he's doing it at a good size. And the handler walked up and he said, just charge for a remark. I was like, man, that's the shit.
What an awesome dude.
That's so
awesome,
nice.
dude.
Dude. And you told him you wanted Ra's al Ghul?
I told him I wanted Ra's al Ghul because I told him how much I love that book. I have this gigantic poster from One Bad Day that has every character and all of the writers and artists' names on there. And so I'm going to try over a long period of time to get everybody to sign it. So far, I've just got Mitch and Ivan to sign it. But yeah, I started by having him sign that and then ask about the sketch.
Dude, that's awesome.
So how long did it take him to do that?
I have a video of that's approximately 3 minutes long, and it didn't take much more than that. And it was cool because at first, like when you look at Bartman, for example, like this has the emphasis lines on the edges, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought at first when he was doing this like shaded stuff, around it, that maybe he was just adding a little bit of texture around it or something. But then he starts drawing all around it. I'm like, oh, he's doing the like fur on the collar and shit. And so then I got a clearer picture. It's just so cool to watch them do it from scratch. You're like, oh, what's that going to be?
There wasn't a reference or anything?
Yeah.
Like he was just like straight from the top of the dome?
He just busted it out. And actually,
amazing.
Chris, Batman Statue Collector, he posted his haul and he also got a Ra's from him. His was similar, but it was more of like a 3/4 profile, and I think his was the proper bust. But yeah, it's cool because it had this same sort of like pencil shading and stuff around the edges, and like so again, most of it's on the Bic pen, but
awesome.
It's also got like in the hair pencil shading and just little stuff like that to give it some depth. But
3 minutes, come on.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably 4 or 5 minutes tops because I filmed most of it and it was brief.
Give me 15 minutes.
2 months.
Give me 15 minutes. I could finally finalize a happy face. Come
now,
on.
I'm still working on Sam's. It's going on about 2 months now.
Oh yeah. He's working on a little homage cover for me. I'm excited about that.
I ain't drawing anything for you, Sammy. Sorry.
So here is perhaps my favorite of the sketch covers that I got. I've talked about this for a while, wanting to get it. Ryan Ottley drew Czarface, which if you're a hip hop head, that's Inspector Deck, Esoteric, and 7L have a rap group that's all comic book themed called Czarface. They recently did a graphic novel for it, and Ottley did one of the variants, and it was awesome. I love this group. They're my favorite group out. And Invincible, I even told him this. I was like, hey, my friend Ben pushed me to read Invincible. I'm strictly a DC collector. And it was the first series that I ever read as an adult that was not DC, and it blew me away. I read like 10 of those trade paperbacks. In fact, I went through his line asking if he would do a remark, and he's only taking remarks of Hulk, Spider-Man, Invincible, and Omni-Man. And so I'm talking to him, and we're talking about hip hop, and he loved that I was asking about Czarface, but he's like, yeah, I only do those for remarks. And his sketch covers were 5 times more.
Yeah.
5 times more. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I don't know. That's just going to blow the rest of my budget if I do that. I don't know. But, we're just talking. We're not buying anything. I didn't bring anything to be signed, because I didn't want to bring my giant hardcover Invincible from home. And he's just the nicest dude. And we're just talking. We got like 20 feet away. And I turned to my wife and I was like, I got to do it, right? He's just so cool. And so I walked back to the end of that line and made it happen. And I was just blown away with what he did, man. It just so fucking gnarly. And
that's awesome.
I think he gave you some extra juice.
Yeah, for sure. And I tagged the guys from Czarface, and Esoteric, one of the MCs, was like, yo, you got that? He did that for you? Like, you got to send me some close-ups of that. So once I get these down in my light box, I'm going to send that over to Esoteric. But yeah,
that's amazing, dude.
Pretty fucking stoked on this. And again, this is like, I'm really playing outside the rules of my my Batman collection at this point, but I had to do it. It's the rapper in me. I had to do it.
Chance of a lifetime. You got to break the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And otherwise, I was going to get an Invincible from him or something, or like I've also seen him do a really good Death of the Family Joker. That would have actually been a good option. But yeah, this is just, it's so unique. And there's not a lot of these floating around, I'm sure, probably from anybody. But Anthony Marquez is somebody that I went to.
He's a great dude.
Yeah. His shit is that like Mazzucchelli meets Bruce Timm kind of like simplistic, shadowy, just awesome Batman.
He draws for Batman Audio Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I love his style.
It's amazing. And once they came out with these year 1 blanks, I was like, oh man, Dave offered, if there's any blanks you need, let me know. And he brought me this one so I could bring it to Marquez. And I was looking around, and he didn't have a booth in Artist Alley. And eventually I found the Kubert School booth that he runs.
Booth,
and he wasn't there.
He was so busy doing panels and stuff, man.
Well, I messaged him, or I replied to his story that night. That's what it was. Because he had said, hey guys, sorry, I was feeling sick today, but I'll be back tomorrow to do a couple panels. And he didn't say if he'd be at the booth. And so I hit him up. Hey, I looked for you, blah, blah, blah. He goes, all right, man, I'll be around. So my wife and I checked that booth 3 or 4 fucking times on Friday. And he was never there. And finally caught up with him. He was feeling better. And by this point, I was truly spent. And the way I kept track of my money on this trip is that it was a cash trip. So I knew, based on what was literally in my hand, this is all I got left. And so I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, I finally found you. I was like, dude, I'm the one who was DMing you last night, whatever. I'm down to my last $60, but I would love to just get a quick remark on my year 1. And he more than delivered for that.
Yes, I'm jealous of you.
He was like, I got you.
Cook.
Don't worry about it.
Fuck, so
and when I went back to pick it up, he goes, yeah, I would have done a little bit more if I had my supplies. I'd like to add the little whites, kind of like we saw Tony Daniel doing, little whiteout pen. He's like, but I think it's pretty good. I'm like, pretty good. This is fucking awesome. And so talk about the best deal of the trip.
Golly.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy, and he's been telling me to go down to the school and visit the school in Jersey, give me a tour and stuff. He did this Alfred for me.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Back at the ZapCon. I'm like, yeah, how much for the Alfred? He's like, dude, you kidding me? I'm not going to charge you. And I'm like, I should have bought a blank.
Yeah.
But he's a really, really good friend. And the guys that work his booth are two guys who graduated from the school that are working on being inkers and artists as well. And they're going to jump on projects that he's working on. He's one of those guys that he brings his team with him and everyone wins. And he's such a humble dude. He's very close friends with Lee Weeks.
Oh,
And
cool.
like Lee Weeks does a lot of things with him in the school and all that stuff. And it's like, oh wow, so you have a legend with you? You're like legend status too, and you don't even know it. You know, like we respect your art so much, and anyone who knows about him.
Yeah.
He's a very approachable guy. He'll talk to you about anything, and he does things like that, man. Great guy. Shout out to Ant, man.
I followed him for quite a while, and so many of these artists I don't never necessarily get a chance to meet. They don't come to the Northwest or whatever, but I've just admired their art online for so long that it's like, oh my God, and he's going to be there too. Like, I got to get something from him. And I originally was going to bring, because when I was doing my con prep, I took out all my blanks and I labeled each one with masking tape. You know, this one, it says Sabine Rich, and this one says Anthony Marquez or whatever, right? And I wrote on all of them. And I took out my Batman The Adventures Continue blank, and I put that on there. And then when you offered to bring anything, I was like, oh, you got a year one? Because I thought that would be even better, right? I regret not bringing that Adventures Continue, though, because I think his name is Peter Smith, does amazing work on the animated series style. And, you know, he'll do Looney Tunes and all kinds of different shit, but I ran into him as well, and I didn't have my my other blank with me because I swapped it for this one. But God, there were just so many amazing people there.
And you did all this in like 2.5 days?
2.5 days. Because, I mean, I run out of money so fast. It's like, okay, we got this one, I got this one, I got this one. And so I mentioned while we were in line for Jason Fabok, I went and got that Bartman done in real time. I didn't want to keep my wife waiting there too long, which was funny because I get back and her name is Ange. She goes, these guys are all bitching about their wives and how they would never come to the con, or they'd slow them down or whatever. And she's like, fuck that. Like, he's got to keep up with me. She's like, he wouldn't be here without me. I was like, yeah, no
she's
shit.
She's a trooper, man. She's a trooper, dude. Oh, yo, kudos to your wife, man. She was putting the miles in the aisles.
She was. And so when I got that Bartman done, I was like, okay, I don't want to keep her there any longer, but I'm just going to drop off one more blank. And so I went over to Sabine Rich and I dropped off this White Knight Harley blank. I knew she had an open list beforehand, but she also will do these like $150, like $200 simple sketches that just look amazing.
That's simple.
I had came across no. I had come across her actually from someone selling one of her sketches like that on eBay, and it was insanely overpriced. It's still on there. This person's asking $1,000 for it for a basic, line sketch. No, and I'm like, I don't know what this person's doing, but anyway,
that's what they're doing. Crack.
I was going to. So I had money that I was going to spend on a couple different Harley artists, right? It was going to be Sabine Rich, Natalie Sanders, and Will Jack. And Natalie Sanders canceled, and Will Jack basically just said no, which that's another story. But at that time, I'm going like, okay, I'm going to use that extra money I was saving for Natalie Sanders, whatever, to upgrade to the full color Sabine Rich, because she's a colorist. That's what she does. And so I do not regret for a second getting the full works here. That was before opening. That was probably 3:00 on Thursday. And I didn't get it till Saturday at noon, but it was
that's amazing.
Tremendous. And she painted the background too. It's got that purple over the pink, and then went over it. And yeah, it's just amazing.
I looked at that picture when you posted it in one of the sketch forums and Facebook.
Yeah.
I saw you had Anna behind that. And I just met Anna at dinner when I had dinner with Zerdy.
Oh, funny.
And I was just like, oh man, she has great art. I'm like, God damn it. Now I gotta start bothering her for sketches and stuff. Cause I'm like, I saw her art, I saw Anna's art, and I'm like, through your post.
In the background, on the banner.
And then here I'm talking to her, and I'm like, Oh, you're screwed now. Wait till you see my blanks, lady.
And so the last sketch that I picked up was someone who I met at, or rather, I had planned to meet 6 months ago at Rose City Comic Con. I had just got laid off and I couldn't buy any sketches that day. So I was so happy when she came to Megacon Orlando so I could get a Supergirl from Sora Sung.
Oh, that looks so good.
Dude, her line work is so clean.
Yeah.
Her faces are so beautiful. Oh, man. I got to actually watch her work on this a little bit, too. And actually, let me rewind, because a few different artists have been extra complimentary about the piece that I happened to get from them. She said, we really like how this turned out, like her and her handler. He thinks it's one of the best faces I've drawn in a long time.
Oh, wow.
And I would like to make prints out of this. And if I do, I'll send you one for free. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. She was really happy with it, which makes me even happier with it. And Jason Fabok had said something similar, because I was, in and around Artist Alley over and over again. And when I had Brad Anderson sign a couple of my books, they were all leaving to go to that big Ghost Machine dinner, the invite only thing. I caught Brad on the way out. He remembered me from the Mixer thing on Wednesday night. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. Busted out my cigs really quick. And as I'm putting my stuff away, I thought they all left. And I get a tap on the shoulder, and it's Jason Fabok. And he's like, hey, man, I just wanted to say thanks again for picking that up. I was really busy earlier, didn't get much time to talk, but I really appreciate it. And this is one of my favorite Batman pieces I've ever drawn, and I'm really glad that you have it. I was like, fuck.
He's so Canadian.
But how lucky. All these artists are like, oh man, I feel a connection to this thing that you got. Dave, you've talked about that before, like watching someone draw a thing and then kind of taking a beat of and Sabine too was like, oh yeah, I took a good photo of this because I really like how this turned out.
You got some of those pieces that you could really tell those artists put a piece of their soul into them.
Absolutely.
That's really what makes that art shine. I mean, you showed that Supergirl. She knows that she nailed it on that one. And
yeah.
It's easy to give it away and be like, hey, give me your money here.
Yeah.
But then it's like, when it's harder, oh my God, I really invested.
It's almost
time
like
in this.
they didn't want to even let that go to you, because they knew they really nailed it, and they put a piece of their
I'll do another
soul
one
in there.
for you.
Yeah.
I'll do another one for you. I could keep this one. But when you give the artist opportunity or something that they really enjoy drawing, it's a different experience than just saying hey, this is what I want.
Yeah. And also, I think we talked about this before, but picking the right character for that person. And I remember seeing on her Instagram a couple process photos of a Supergirl a year ago or something, and just being like, oh my God, if I ever meet you, that's what I'm getting, because I think it's better to give them a reference of their own work that you can point to of I love what you do, and I want you to do something like that. And so for her to say oh yeah, I like this enough that I actually want this to be my Supergirl that I have on the table for sale in reproduction is fuck yeah, that's incredible.
That's awesome.
It just shows if you choose the right thing, then you're going to get the best result. Same thing with Ottley is when does he ever get asked to do that?
Never.
So that's my whole sketch haul. Craziest sketch haul ever. The only exceptions are I still didn't get the Clayman piece. And there's a story there.
When it comes to Clayman, there's plenty of stories.
Yeah.
Clayman, we love you, buddy.
There's an incredible sketch that he handed me the next day. And I'm like, oh my God. But I had
he was
this
that's not yours.
reaction of hesitation. And he's like, oh shit, it was supposed to be on a blank, wasn't it? And I was like, well, yeah. Yeah. And it had background and a format that was there was no fucking way after I took everything off of this wall in this room. There's just no, I'm looking at it going, this is one of the nicest pieces I walk away with all weekend. And yet he's right. Like, yeah, that isn't what I asked for. And I felt insane, like letting it go. But he was immediately like, oh shit, you asked for okay. No, don't worry. I'll redo it. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I asked him if I could take a picture of it just so I can, mourn the loss of it. So now he's redoing it on my blank. But yeah, the other one that I paid for was John Boy Myers. I did meet him in Portland, but didn't occur to me the right character at that time. And we're talking about how important that is, right?
Yep.
Because this shit's so stylized. I had a few in mind. I was like, I just don't know with this guy. More recently, I saw that he had a variant cover for Godzilla versus Justice League or whatever it is. And I love Godzilla. Godzilla -1 was my favorite movie last year.
Did you just see the -1 color version?
No, not yet. I've heard that it's
amazing. It's probably even better.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess it makes sense being a period piece and everything that could add to the vibe.
Yes.
And I didn't do any digging at this con because every dollar was spent on sketches.
Yeah. You don't have time for that.
I mean, I would love to do it. I love trying to find, I think I walked by and sniped like 3 or 4 blanks that were just on a display. But other than that, I didn't do any digging. And I was walking by this place, had a bunch of blanks out. The guy asked me, hey, is there any others you looking for? I got some that aren't on display. And I say, yeah, DC blanks. That's what I'm here for. He starts pointing out and listing off some things that aren't out. And he goes, oh, like this one. So the Justice League versus Godzilla. And he's like, I got a blank from this. I'm like, no shit. And he's digging around for 10 minutes and can't find it. The other guy comes back to the booth and he starts digging and they can't find it. He's like, tell you what, if I find this fucking thing, you come back tomorrow, I'll give it to you for free. And so, sure enough, the next day, I walked by there, found it, had my name on it, gave it to me for free. So I walk over to John Boy Myers, give him my money, and then he says, okay, we got about 8 more sketches in front of you, so I'll probably just have to mail it to you. I'm like, well, fucking lead with that information. What the hell? And so I probably could have got my Ariel Diaz or my Tyler Kirkham or maybe gone back to that art germ table. I don't know. But I look forward to seeing what he does to it. But I can't share it with you. Oh,
man. I was waiting for it this entire time. I'm like, all right, he has another one? Oh, sweet. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, neither have I. Neither have I.
Thanks for that.
But
not going to get those 5 minutes back.
Hey, we're talking about our trip, man. The next couple ones are our last couple, and they are sketches that I got last year by mail, but I'd never met the artist. And so the first one is Mark Silvestri. I walked up to him and I said, hey, had this done through Comic Sketch Art at Fan Expo Denver last year, and they mailed it off to me. And he goes, oh, I actually remember working on this one. And he was very nice. He told me that I had the coolest hair at the convention, which was, generous, I'll say.
He had a long ass line all week as well.
Yeah, I was very lucky because on Thursday he had a hell of a line, and it was kind of one of those like we're just doing laps and seeing whose tables are open, and we managed to get in while he was. I think he only had one person.
Did he do any additional work on your sketch there, or you just
no? He did sign. I have another full size poster from Deadly Duo. Okay. And so he signed that, big fat paint marker. But yeah, I brought this with me just so I could snap a pic with him. The same thing that I did with this person, the grand finale.
Of course.
Mr. Frank Miller.
The best Frank Miller photo I've seen with anyone that I
know. Oh, gosh.
What a story, this one, man. And I've
been waiting. Come on.
I feel like people are mad at me over this one, man. Like, look,
yeah.
Like, look at that. I posted my whole haul, and I just included Silvestri and Frank at the very end. I was just like, oh yeah, and also took these pics from sketches I got last year. And I had this dude been like, man, I bought multiple sketches from this guy, and they do not look like that. How did you get yours to look like that? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just
you picked the right character.
Well, I mean, yeah, that could be part of it. I hit them up as soon as I got this thing. It was 2 days before Christmas. I said, hey, this is amazing. Thank you so much. He forgot to sign it. Can I bring it to Megacon, have him sign it, maybe take a picture? They said, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. And you could see what I'm wearing is that comic sketch art VIP badge that I was just complaining about. So I didn't buy this to cut people in line and be lazy. When I went up to them and reminded them that I was coming for this, they were like, oh yeah, no problem. Here, take this and take a 1 signature card, because everything in Frank's line is ticketed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just take these, meet us back here by 11, and we'll make sure you get taken care of, which as far as I'm concerned is a totally different thing than like, I'm just buying this fucking fuck you pass. It's like, oh, hey, I dropped a lot of money on this and it's incomplete and they're going to help me out. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about that.
They right the wrong.
Exactly. It kind of worked out great because there was only one CGC witness there. And this is the longest line I've ever seen at any con ever. And it just snaked around the entire artist alley way down into the main area. Like, it was fucking huge. He was only there one day.
That's what he does.
Yeah. And so we're getting up there and there's a lag because all the people in front of us are waiting for this one CGC guy. And they're starting to push back the existing line. And so we kind of just sneak in. It's our turn. And we're just talking to him. And he's like, oh, I remember this one. And someone was like, yeah, didn't you just do that? He's like, yeah, I can't believe I forgot to sign it, And it does his signature on there. And he looks up to my wife and, because he's kind of hunched down. His neck's kind of like that all the time. And he had mostly just been looking down at the books and signing them. They hand him a book, he signs it. He doesn't really look up that much. But he looks up and he sees my wife and he's like, did he drag you along to this thing? And I was like, man, he better take you out to a nice dinner after this and make it up to you, whatever. I was like, oh, yeah, we had our nice dinner last night, actually. And so he's chatting it up with her for a second. I was like, oh, man, that's so cool. They had told me, look, you can't take the picture here. Like, there's hundreds of people in this line. That's just going to fuck everything up, because everyone's going to start asking for it. They're not going to understand my situation was a different thing and they're making it up to me, whatever. He said, come back at the panel at 6:00. Mind you, it's 11:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we're done. I just got my last 2 pickups, and we're done. And so he's like, yeah, come back.
This is Saturday, right?
Saturday.
Yeah,
He's like, come back the panel at 6:00. I said, okay, so I catch you right beforehand. He goes, no, after. I'm like, at 7? 7's when they close. He's like, yeah, be there by 7. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And the deal was that we were going to go to MegaCon the first 3 days, and then the last 2 days we were going to go to Universal and Disney World. That's what my wife wanted to do. And so I was like, well, fuck, let's go to Universal now. And so we left there at 11:30, 12, went to Universal, did all this shit, got a lift back because I didn't have my backpack full of comics with me at Universal. So we had to get a lift back to the hotel, had to go all the way up, grab my Marv. And by then it was like 6:30. Because we had to wait for traffic and wait for the ride, and it's cutting it
crazy
close.
in Megacon, man.
Right. And so Mike had got a couple last signatures for me on my other books as well. So he's waiting for me, and I got to meet Frank before the end of the panel. And so I am exactly 1 mile from the convention center, not to mention how fucking big it is inside. I haven't even jogged, maybe to run away from a bee that was chasing me or something,
It's been
in
years.
20 years, right? And right outside our hotel, you turn the corner and there's a bridge that goes to the convention center. So I had to sprint with my $1,000 Marv sketch in my hand and a top loader courtesy of Jonathan and Tara Glapian. Thank you for that. And sprint up this fucking bridge. I'm dying. I can't breathe, and I'm all sweaty. I'm like, this picture's going to be disgusting. I'm sure I look horrible, I'm running and running and running. I finally get to like the crest, and it's so steep. I can't. I'm breathing fucking anyway. I run the whole fucking thing. And I make it there. I can't find Mike. He's calling me on the phone. He's like, I'm down the bottom of the escalator. I'm like, I'm at the fucking bottom of the escalator, man. I can't find you. And
wrong escalator.
Exactly. And so anyway, we fucking find each other, sit down for a quick second. He hands me my books and he's like, hey, I know exactly where they are. I'll take you up. Get in there. There's probably a couple hundred people in this panel. It's pretty big. I'm like, oh shit. I don't see any of the guys from Comic Sketch Art. I'm like, how the fuck is this going to happen? So I just walked all the way up the side of the room. And, there's a couple people sitting side stage. And I just whispered like, hey, have you seen Doug from Comic Sketch Art? And she's like, no, I should be here. She's texting him. She's, follow me this way. She's taking me like looking around, opening doors backstage. No, I don't see him. Okay. Mandy from Comic Sketch Art shows up. Oh, hey, Sam. I'm like, okay, I'm on first name with these people now. Great. And then Doug comes in right behind. He just kind of gives me a wave and a nod, like, I got you. I'm like, all right, cool. As soon as the panel is over, they walked me backstage, and I was the only person there. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. This is like some VIP deluxe shit, And I'm looking around, and I'm in a dark hallway that's all concrete. It's like when you see backstage on like an arena rock video or something, right? There's a go-kart and like just like it's very weird. Again, I'm sitting there by myself. They walk Frank back there after the panel, say, hey, we're going to take a picture with Sam now. And she has my phone in her hand, the handler, and she turns over and starts talking to the other people. And so me and Frank are just standing there alone while they're all talking over there. And I'm like, this is so surreal right now. And so just start talking to him for a minute, and handler comes back, and we're standing there just like this. And she doesn't take the picture. She goes, oh, you got that one? Oh, man, you got the good one. And she's like, I remember he just did that. He goes, the good one? They're all good ones or whatever. And she goes, well, you know what I mean? That's a really good one. And he goes, okay, yeah, actually, I really like that one too. And I was like, fuck, dude. So when I opened this thing in the mail and I was like, okay, please be awesome. Please be awesome. And it was fucking awesome. I love that even himself is like, okay, yeah, you're right. It is kind of like fucking one of the most memorable ones, I should say. We take the picture. I told him like, this is probably my favorite piece in my whole collection. I love this book so much. And, I was blown away that this is the one that I got. And he was very gracious, very kind. It's so weird that a guy who writes such big, tough characters is so soft-spoken and kind.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty funny. He's got a very New York sense of humor, but
someone has a sense of humor because you sent me this picture.
Well, that's a whole different story.
I don't think it could be more perfectly posed by this photobomb of the fist here. Is this Aquaman's hand?
Yeah. So that's in 2018. Yeah, that's in 2018 at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. South by Southwest is a 2-week festival for film and art and music.
Yeah, I was probably there.
The first week is always the film part, and DC and Warner Brothers had a huge display with all of the Batmobiles,
right?
The big Superman statue, Jim Lee, Frank Miller were there. Free autographs by Frank Miller and Jim Lee.
Wow.
And, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. My wife and I went down there for this, and we were talking about it's cool when your wife goes with you because you've got a teammate, and
yeah,
you could have 3 signatures per person. So I picked the 6 books that I wanted. And here's what's crazy. There were only probably about 50 people in line.
Dude, that's nuts.
So,
and I can see you got your complete Frank Miller Dark Knight hardcover that you showed me before.
yes, and you can also see that I'm wearing the T-shirt of.
Oh yeah,
Triumphant.
Yeah, Triumphant. And first thing he says is, "I like that shirt," and I was like, "I wonder why," but
yeah,
I wanted my wife to take a photo, right? This is her camera.
mm-hmm.
And we get back to the hotel and she's like, "Oh my God. Don't be mad."
Oh no.
And she showed me the photo because it was on her phone.
Mm.
I just busted out laughing because, I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so funny.
And you could see the hat around the finger there.
Yeah. Because if it was my camera, my phone, I would have checked the photo immediately. But it was her phone.
Yeah, or you take
15 of them.
10, yeah.
Yeah. So that was my once in a lifetime opportunity there.
We're supposed to be in Dallas this year, buddy.
Actually,
I'm taking the picture this time.
Yeah. Actually, a few months later in New York, we went to go to New York Comic Con and just go to New York. And he was doing a signing with Capullo, Tom King, and I think Scott Snyder at a Midtown Comics.
Heavy hitters.
Well, our flight came in. Our hotel was downtown in the finance center, close to Wall Street. And I was like, we're not going to have time to go to Midtown Comics for the signing. So we went to the hotel. I forgot to pack a pair of jeans. So we went to this department store that was close to the hotel. And I swear to God, I was like, do any men in New York City wear above a size 30 waist? Because they didn't have any jeans that were above size 30. I was like, what is up with these? I guess everyone there just...
Children's sizes?
Yeah, it was kind of like almost like the Seinfeld episode where he's like, I don't wear a size 30. No. So I found some jeans, but man, they were tight. Well, it just so happened that there was a Midtown Comics 2 blocks away from our hotel. I go there. That's where they're having the signing.
Oh my God.
So I got to sit there and listen to him talk, shake his hand. I literally almost watched Frank Miller die because that Midtown Comics has a steep staircase. Right in the middle of it. Dave knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, someone downtown.
There's a rug in front of the stairs, and he tripped on the rug and almost did the Batman Superman shadow down those stairs.
Jesus.
We caught him.
Really?
Him. Yeah, we caught him.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. Otherwise, you never would have got your sketch.
That's the most important part.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you got to thank Gramps for that one.
Golly.
Fuck. Well, yeah, I mean, I do want to thank, Doug and Dave and Mandy, everybody at Comic Sketch Art for helping me out with that. Really just made already my best con ever even more spectacular, because that was the very last thing that I did before we headed out to Disney, did all that whole thing.
Nice.
Yeah, amazing trip. I'm so glad that we went. And again, even with all the amazing people that canceled, it's like, I can't imagine having the time or money to get to them as well. So it didn't hurt. I reminded them of the Frank Miller thing after I had just bought the giant Fabok and the Ottley and, all these other things from them, the Tony Daniel, the Ivan Reyes, all these things. I've been pretty steadily buying commissions from them for years at this point. So I'm grateful for the recognition. I know Dave knows everybody. I don't get around quite as much, so it's nice to finally have some more faces to the names, and they really made the whole thing happen. Like, to have this in my hands right now, and to have that picture. And I'm a notoriously bad picture taker. I mean, you saw the picture of me with Geoff Johns. I'm just like,
happy to be here.
That's all I got, man. And luckily, for some fucking reason, my iPhone was on live photo setting. And
nice.
His handler took 3 shots of us, and they all basically looked the same. But I started going through the little live photo thing.
The little extra.
And there was a spot where I think I laughed or something, and it was just like one frame. I was like, oh, shit, that's the great one. Yeah, man. So many little reasons why I lucked out. But shout out to CSA. Shout out to Mike, the Sig Slayer from Stash Wars. Shout out to our good friend Dave here on the podcast. Shout out to Gramps for saving Frank Miller's life.
Shout out to that bridge you had to run on.
Yeah, seriously.
Shout out to them shoes that your wife had to wear to hold her down, dealing with your going back and forth.
Shout out to the MVP, who is your wife.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Shout out to your wife. It was great meeting her, by the way. It was awesome. She's just a true trooper.
Yeah, man. She was all about it. I was probably complaining more than she was, you know.
She was just standing there like, all right, cool, another line that I'm hanging out with my husband. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes the whole thing so much more enjoyable, honestly.
It's a beautiful thing.
And then we can go back to the room and make tomorrow's plan and look at everything we caught today. And, you know, it's cool because I'm always just in my head doing that shit by myself.
I feel that.
Yeah, and then one more shout out to Eric Lau for the heads up on the possibility of Fabok coming out, because that's what got me here.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm tired of shit. You're sick. You know, we all just got home. We're coming down from it, and I got to start paying this one off. But I can't wait for the next con. So,
hell yeah, looking forward to it. What's your next one?
The next one, I don't know, man. I'm probably gonna keep it close to home.
Oh.
No, I'm gonna keep it close to home, I think, and return to Washington SummerCon, which they just announced Ryan Ottley, which is cool. Means they're gonna bring some heavy hitters again. I've met Capullo there. I've met Snyder there. I've met McNiven there. Mitch Gerrits. I mean, they've had great talent. And then also, hopefully, because I'm not going to get to Emerald City this year. It's coming up in just a few weeks, but Babs Tarr is going to be there. I really want. She canceled last time I was there, but probably missed that one. And I'll do SummerCon and Rose City in the fall.
Nice.
I got to recover from this one. I went all in. This was my biggest con ever. Okay, it's going to be the biggest con ever. Then let's fucking do it. So
it's a big con, man. When big cons, you spend big money, and I'm happy you had the experience you had, dude. It's great to finally meet.
Absolutely.
The overall, Megacon's where it's at. It's the third biggest con right now, and you experienced every little bit of it.
And shout out to Rich from Fan Expo. I'm glad I got to run into him for even just a moment, because
nice. He's busy.
These guys bringing their A game for Megacon.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Awesome.
All right. Well, guys, that is our show. If you like it, drop the comment and like and all that shit. Subscribe to our podcast, the audio version. However you listen to your podcast, drop us a little rating review. Let people know what you like about it, and we will be back with a proper season 4. We just had these 2 Comic-Con reviews we wanted to get out of the way, and then we will be back with our comic reviews, as we are wont to do on this show. So, as I botched last time, stay tuned, not for the One Bad Day Riddler, as I said, but stay tuned for Paul Dano's Riddler Year 1.